Today I'm going to talk about ice cream and reveal the 4 types of ice cream that you should definitely avoid eating if you want to optimize your health. Sugar-free ice cream, dairy-free ice cream, and ice creams made with artificial coloring and artificial flavoring. Go ahead. I dare you to find ice creams that don't fall into one of those categories. And if you do find it, well, that's a starting point because everyone loves ice cream and it's been around a long time. In fact, what we call ice cream today had its roots in Europe, had its roots in France, England, Italy, and the dates back to about 1600s when people figured out that you could add salt to ice in order to make frozen desserts. Now, if you go even further back in history, back to the Persians, back to the Greeks, there were also frozen ice creams, frozen desserts back then as well. Not much less known about those, but what we call ice cream today really is sort of a product from the 1600s. All right, so we're talking about 300 to 400 years of experience with this delicious frozen dessert, and everybody loves ice cream. Now, I'm not going to give you permission to eat ice cream as a health food, but I'm going to tell you some scientific facts about ice cream that actually might surprise you and might allow you to treat yourself once in a while because, well, maybe you deserve it. Okay, so here is the surprise. In fact, I always thought ice cream is not going to be a healthy dessert for you. Why? Well, because it's made with dairy, which has a lot of saturated fat. It's got added sugar to it. It's got emulsifiers to it. And, you know, when I was growing up, I would go to these ice cream stores that had all these different kinds of flavors in the summertime, and I'd be clamoring for a cone or a cup of the cold sweet stuff, right? Well, most of it was nuclear colored and, you know, really kind of a kaleidoscope of flavors. Of course, every kid wants it, but actually there's some data that surprised me that is beginning to show that perhaps ice cream could actually be beneficial for heart health. Now, where does this data come from? Well, it comes from a clinical study that was done in 2018 as part of a student's doctoral thesis, where the student was looking at data from 2 massive studies, the Nurses' Health Study and the Health Professionals Follow-Up Study. Now, these involve tens and hundreds of thousands of people, and the studies took place following nurses and doctors, male doctors, over about 20 years or so. And what the researcher did was looked at people who were high risk for heart disease to begin with, all right? So he looked at people with diabetes, specifically type 2 diabetes, right? Type 2 diabetes is a metabolic condition, metabolic disease that occurs when you have excess body fat and you have poor insulin sensitivity, so your glucose levels are higher, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so this research sort of just looked at a group of people who already had type 2 diabetes and were at highest risk for heart disease, because we know that diabetes puts you at risk for heart disease. But in this case, the researchers started with people who at the beginning had no heart disease. They had diabetes, they had no heart disease, and then followed their health over time. Okay, remember, this is a 20-year study to see how people were winding up. Did they get heart disease or not? And what were they eating that correlated with their development of getting heart disease or not getting heart disease? All right, now, so here is a surprise. Remarkably, the results of this study, this research showed that people who ate ice cream no more than twice a week, all right? No more than twice a week. So this isn't like people are eating ice cream twice a day or even once a day, all right? But those people who ate ice cream no more than twice a week had a 12% decrease in their risk of developing heart disease. A 12% decrease in the risk of developing their heart disease. Now, this was a big head scratcher when the results came out. And in fact, nutritionists, including experts from Tufts University, the Friedman School of Nutrition, and Harvard School of Public Health, have been looking at the data and scouring it, trying to find out if there was some problem in the analysis. And nope, this actually looks like a pretty solid finding. So, head scratcher though, and this is what happens in medical research, sometimes we come up with a result that we really can't explain. Doesn't mean that just because we can't explain it, it's wrong, But it means that we need to actually study it further, and we need to be as smart as possible to figure out how it could be. Now, this mystery about how ice cream, no more than twice a week, could be beneficial for heart health, meaning reducing the risk of developing heart disease compared to people who ate ice cream more than twice a week, or people who actually comes down to a bunch of different hypotheses. I'll tell you what my thinking is, if I had to explain it as a researcher, as somebody who studies food as medicine, is that ice cream is cold, right? So when you eat ice cream, you're having some of this cold stuff go down your stomach, all right? And the cold temperatures of the ice cream could activate receptors inside your stomach. These are like temperature gauges, all right, like thermostats in your stomach, and they sense temperature. If you drink cold water, you'll turn on these little sensors. And you have ice cream. Well, I figured that could also turn on these receptors. And when these cold receptors are turned on, the consequence is it tells your body, ooh, something really cold is happening deep inside our body. We better turn on the turbojets to warm up the system, warm up the body, all right? And so this process of turbojetting to warm up the body is called thermogenesis. Thermo, heat, genesis, generating heat, all right? And all of a sudden your body generates heat. And in order to generate heat, the body has to burn down fuel. You need fuel to burn it down, body fat, to create heat to burn down body fat. And so it'd be like just if you were cooking and you had a gas range in your house. If you wanted to actually turn on the range top, what do? You turn on the knob, it goes click, 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 whoosh, right? And when that stovetop goes whoosh, that would be like thermogenesis inside your body. It's got to draw down a fuel. Might come from the gas line to a tank by the side of your house, or from the town, for example, in your body. In order to, when you feel something really cold in your stomach, activates those temperature sensors, all right? It sends a signal. Time to click, 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 whoosh. And the fuel it's got to draw from comes from harmful extra body fat. All right. So my hypothesis as a scientist, and I'm just speaking candidly with you sort of as an idea, because a lot of other really smart people have been head scratching trying to figure out how could ice cream possibly benefit heart health. My idea is that the cold temperature fires up your thermostat. You have thermogenesis. It's got to draw down fuel, and it burns down extra harmful body fat, which then lowers inflammation, and it actually can be helpful for lowering the risk of cardiovascular disease. Much more research needs to be done, but that's my hypothesis, and I'm just telling you, sharing with you how a scientist thinks about it. Now, a lot of caveats to this. First, if you're going to enjoy ice cream, don't think about it as something that's good for your heart, and so for that reason, don't be eating it all the time. But here are the types of ice cream that you definitely want to avoid if you want to protect your health, all right? First, don't eat sugar-free ice cream. This is becoming increasingly popular. People are looking for diet versions of various types of favorite foods. Well, sugar-free ice cream contains artificial sweeteners. And we're beginning to realize more and more that these artificial sweeteners actually damage or even kill our healthy gut bacteria, our gut microbiome. And your gut microbiome is one of the most precious defenses you have. In fact, I write about the gut microbiome as one of your body's 5 health defense systems. You've got angiogenesis, you've got stem cells, you've got microbiome, you've got your DNA protection, you've got your immunity, and the gut microbiome is one of your health defenses. So you don't want to mess that up, all right? Sugar-free ice cream with artificial sweeteners messes up your gut microbiome. When you mess up your gut microbiome, all right, inflammation goes up in your body, your lipid control starts to go haywire, so metabolically you're less healthy. And because your gut is connected to your brain, it can even affect your mood, which you don't want to actually do. All right, so the first type of ice cream to avoid is the kind of ice cream, sugar-free ice cream. Second type of ice cream to avoid is dairy-free ice cream. Now, I know dairy-free, fat-free, a lot of people actually are going for this because it sounds healthier, right? Wrong. And here's why. Dairy-free ice cream is packed with emulsifiers. Now, an emulsifier is really a chemical added by a food manufacturer in order to be able to create the texture, it's called mouthfeel, that makes it similar to the real deal, the full-fat ice cream full dairy ice cream. If you want to make it a low-fat, dairy-free ice cream taste like dairy ice cream, you got to add these thickeners to it that actually create that same familiar texture of ice cream in your mouth. Guess what? Emulsifiers, carrageenan, polysorbate 80, other types of emulsifiers are now also being discovered to harm your gut microbiome. All right? Harm your gut microbiome, inflammation goes up, your immune system actually goes down, your lipid metabolism goes haywire, and that gut-brain connection starts to be problematic, and so might affect your mood. All right? So avoid sugar-free ice cream, avoid dairy-free ice cream, and then comes a couple of, I consider them no-brainers, but I'm going to say them anyway because it's actually pretty hard to avoid. All right, third ice cream to avoid. Don't eat ice creams with bright artificial colors. All right, these are colors that don't naturally exist in nature. If you see an ice cream, you know, you're peering over the counter and you're looking at what kind of ice cream you want, and there's one that's bright blue, pretty much guarantee you that's artificial coloring. If you see one's bright orange, probably artificial coloring. If you see rainbow, all right, probably artificial coloring. You don't want to have artificial coloring. Those are synthetic chemicals that can actually affect your gut microbiome. They can actually put a burden on your, cause oxidative stress in your body as well. Just stay away from artificial colors. If it looks really attractive, if it looks like it came out of one of these bright magic markers and it's ice cream, as visually appealing as it might be, and believe me, when I was a kid, I loved that bright colored stuff. Stay away from it. Artificial, not good for you. All right, check this out. I've got a guide on the foods to naturally balance hormones for women. I picked 5 foods that are packed with disease-fighting bioactives that are especially impactful for women, and I want to share it with you. It's yours right now for free in the caption below. All you have to do is click on the link below the video. And the fourth kind of ice cream to stay away from are ice creams made with artificial flavors. If you've ever had a natural ice cream made with real, genuine fruit flavoring, you'll realize, first of all, it tastes really amazing. All right, if they use really ripe fruit and make it the right way. Sometimes it's called artisanal ice cream. It's super expensive. Most people don't want to afford to buy that kind of a thing. But that's going to be a little bit healthier than the one that actually tastes like ultra watermelon, ultra pineapple. You know, these flavors that like make your mouth explode with delight because it tastes so much like the fruit. Grape, you know, look, it takes a lot of super intense grapes in order to be able to create that, you know, Concord grape jelly-like flavor. That's going to be artificial. All right. Fruity flavor, as I call them, but they actually taste too intense. Usually artificial fake fruit flavoring, not the real fruit itself. And that's not going to be good for you because those artificial flavorings are synthetic chemicals that you don't want to be introducing in your body. All right. That is something you definitely want to avoid. And by the way, I don't think I need to tell you that there's no natural flavor called bubble gum or cotton candy. All right. And that bright pink you might see, or bright blue you might see with the bubble gum or cotton candy, not natural coloring either. All right. So those are the 4 ice creams you want to actually avoid. Avoid sugar-free ice cream, avoid dairy-free ice cream, avoid ice cream with artificial, nuclear, bright, brilliant colors, and avoid ice creams that are made with artificial flavoring. These like super tasting flavors, they do taste great. All manufactured, engineered to make you love the flavor, not healthy for you. Okay, so here's a few other tips for health if you want to enjoy ice cream. First, you might want to consider swapping the ice cream for sorbet. Sorbet is more often made with real fruit. Now, both ice cream and sorbet have a lot of sugar, so you got to limit what you consume to just a small amount. How small? Look, if I were your health coach and I would give you permission to eat one, I would say, look, if you want to be healthy, you want to cut that out. But if you have to have one, I'm one of those like coaches that says life is for the living. So every now and then it's okay to treat yourself. Food for health shouldn't be about deprivation 100%. But if you're going to have ice cream or sorbet being a little bit healthier, all right, just eat 1 scoop. 1 scoop rather than 3 scoops, which you might be tempted to order, right? Like we all walk into the ice cream store and we feel like we're kids again. Oh, but we're adults, we can afford it. So I'll take those 3 scoops that you didn't get when you were a kid. You shouldn't get it as an adult either. All right. So finally, let me just remind you again. Ice cream is made with added sugar, so it should stay a treat, a rare treat, not a regular staple. And don't order the ice cream sundae. You know, that dish that's got 3 scoops of ice cream and a banana and chocolate and all this other stuff piled on top of it. Just get 1 scoop of your favorite, all right? A cup or a cone is fine, but skip the whipped cream, skip the sprinkles or the jimmies that they call them, or if you're in the United Kingdom, they call them hundreds of thousands. Skip that and skip the caramel sauce as well, all right? Less is better when it comes to ice cream, and natural is going to be the best. And even that, you want to cut down or cut out. Keep ice cream a treat. You got it? And just remember, loaded with dairy fat, added sugar, and emulsifiers. Any kind of ice cream has some emulsifiers. And this can actually harm your gut microbiome. But if you are going to eat ice cream, do it only every now and then. Avoid dairy-free, sugar-free, artificial flavoring, artificial coloring. I'm often asked a number of questions by viewers just like you in the comments below, so I thought I'd answer some of them here. So here's the first one. What are some of the healthier desserts people should opt to eat instead of ice cream for better health? Well, my answer is that they should try to go Asian and eat some seasonal fruit. Now, if you actually go to Asia, China, Japan, Vietnam, Thailand, you'll actually be surprised that for dessert, instead of serving pie or cake, oftentimes your gracious host or your friends or family members will serve you a fruit like oranges, one of my favorites. You know, sliced oranges just on a plate, beautiful, after a meal, usually a lovely plant-based meal where meat is actually the side, or you have a little bit of it. It's a kind of a condiment. But here's the thing about oranges. The citric acid, you know, the tanginess of oranges actually cuts the grease or oil from any meal, and it leaves your mouth with a nice, fresh taste. So this is actually one of the secret sauces of a kind of an Asian fruit dessert. And you can do it anywhere, right? I mean, just find some seasonal fruit. Citrus happens to be one of my favorites, but you want to get fruit if you're going to serve it this way when it's actually seasonal and freshest. Now, when it comes to oranges, here's what you get. You get a hit of vitamin C, ascorbic acid, which is anti-inflammatory. So again, instead of, even though you get the sweet, sort of the sweet tooth satisfied, you also get the nutrient-dense benefits of a fruit. And for oranges, that also includes narogenin. It's a bioactive that improves your circulation, also anti-inflammatory. And narogenin also helps to fight harmful body fat. So it's good for your metabolism as well. So instead of a piece of cake or a piece of or a slice of pie, you wind up having oranges. It's a little sweet, but it's got a lot of other anti-inflammatory, blood vessel improving, and metabolism improving, fat burning benefits as well. Now, orange slices also have dietary fiber, and dietary fiber is good for our gut microbiome. Gut microbiome, the 39 trillion healthy bacteria that live in our gut. You know, we don't feel them when they're doing really well and are healthy, but they need to be fed. So one of the things that we do is eat prebiotics, and these are polyphenols in our foods, and dietary fiber. Our gut bacteria loves to eat dietary fiber. The more dietary fiber we eat, the happier the gut bacteria are, and they pay us back by producing these metabolites. And these metabolites are, we have their names. We know they're short-chain fatty acids, propionate, acetate, butyrate. You don't have to remember all these details. All you know is that when you actually have an orange, you get all these polyphenols, you get dietary fiber, and the dietary fiber, it means good gut health. Now, good gut health also means good brain health. And so now you get another benefit for having oranges, for example, for dessert. All right. Now, another choice for a summer fruit could be watermelon in the summer. Slices of watermelon on a plate. Also commonly seen in some cultures. I've been had a watermelon as a dessert in places like Italy, hot weather places, or in Asia. Now, what's good about watermelon is that, first of all, it's not heavy, it's light, mostly liquid. All right, good for hydration. The original watermelons, by the way, came from Africa, and they weren't red, they were white, and they weren't sweet. They were really used for hydration, but over the years, they were bred to be red and sweet. And what the redness in watermelons that we see today actually is due to lycopene. Lycopene is a bioactive. It's a carotenoid. And guess what? Lycopene has antioxidant benefits. Lycopene protects your DNA. All right. So that's good for preventing mutations. And lycopene is also good for metabolism because it helps to burn excess harmful body fat. All right. That's all the benefit of watermelon. And it's also got a light, sweet, fresh taste. All right. It's a palate cleanser after a meal. Not heavy. It's very light. It's a great sweet choice to have and not filling at all. Right. After a meal, you don't want to feel bloated and heavy. Sometimes, the regular desserts, when you eat something big and chunky and heavy, it's like tips you over the edge. Not fruit, not watermelon. All right. Another summer choice that I like, again, it's all seasonal, depends on where you live, but a ripe, juicy peach. Love peach. Peaches have chlorogenic acid. That's the bioactive. It's potent anti-inflammatory effects. Or a mango. I love mangoes. Mangoes have dietary fiber. It's kind of stringy. Good for the gut microbiome. And it's got mangiferin, which is a natural bioactive that protects your stem cells. And your stem cells inside your body help you heal from the inside out. So these are just some of the desserts that are not cake, not cookies, not pie, all right? And they still are sweet, natural sweets from fruits, but they're very nutrient dense in the sense they give you polyphenols and dietary fiber. So you get not only your sweet tooth tickled, but you also get all this other health benefit, lights up your health defenses, in many cases lights up your metabolism as well. That's what I would actually recommend as an alternative to eating ice cream or some of the other desserts. Really, you could have better choices. All right. Another question is this. For people who enjoy dessert always after dinner time, how bad is that for your health? And how do you break this addiction of wanting to have a treat after dinner? All right. Let me clear up something because I actually like to kind of take out Thor's hammer and bash down myths. First of all, there's nothing wrong with having dessert. Very natural. No big deal. After a meal, if the custom is to have something sweet, that's not a problem. I think sugar gets vilified. Now, too much sugar is actually bad for you, but it's okay. You want to have a little hit of sweetness after dinner? Not a problem. The key is deciding what kind of dessert you're going to actually have. All right. You want to get that hit of sweetness, but you also want to have the least amount of harm to your health. And ideally, flip the script on its head and do something good for your health. So obviously, rule number one, the less sugar, the better. So it is, I don't like to use the word like addiction. Most people aren't addicted to dessert, but most people enjoy something sweet. They enjoy a dessert. The less sugar you have, the better it is. Again, I sort of invite people to take a look at other cultures. And that's what I do when I travel to do research. And what I found is that in Japan and China, the desserts, even their cakes and pastries are not that sweet, compared to, like a chocolate cake or, buttercream cake. They're light and fluffy and not so sweet. They don't have anywhere near the amount of sugar you'd actually find in an American or European cake. So, you can actually take a look at some of these Asian baked desserts as an inspiration if you want to do some research online on that and look for recipes and give it a shot. They are not sweet, but they're absolutely delicious. And the key to me is that they're actually very, very light. And you don't want to eat a lot of it anyway, okay? Otherwise, that's calorie overload. Now, the other thing, as I mentioned before, is that you can actually have a fruit dessert. Fruits give you that hit of sweetness, but they offer you a nutrient-dense, polyphenol-rich, dietary fiber-rich alternative that actually adds to your health. Okay, so even you get a little bit of sugar from the fruit, you get so much more. That's actually good for your health defenses, good for angiogenesis, good for your stem cells, regenerative system, good for your gut microbiome, good for your DNA protection through antioxidant activity, and good for your immune system by lowering inflammation and in some cases boosting your immunity. All right. So again, fruits are a really, really great choice. Now, if you're going to get fruits and you want to get the most out of the fruits, Get them seasonally, get them ripe, okay? They're actually going to taste a lot better. And the point isn't to, be a robot and go after fruits, but enjoy something that's really delicious at the peak of its ripeness, where it's going to taste really, really great. By the way, at the time that the fruits are ripe, that's usually when they have the highest amount of polyphenols as well. All right. So just enjoy the fruits. And if you really want to ace out on your bioactives, try organic fruits, because fruits that are grown in the most natural state, organic state, no artificial pesticides, they have to work a little harder to stay healthy because of all the natural bugs and little insects that are nibbling on the leaves and stems. And part of how that plant heals itself is by producing more of these bioactives. So naturally grown plants have more healthful bioactives. And the final thing I'll say about dessert is, what I recommend you stay away from. Try to stay away from pre-made, ultra-processed desserts or elements for the desserts, because they're going to contain a lot of preservatives, emulsifiers, additives, and probably artificial coloring, artificial flavoring. All right. Sprinkles or jimmies or hundreds of thousands on ice cream, that stuff is all candy, and with a lot of food coloring in it. And you also want to stay away from things like, whipped cream in a can. All right. That's probably not pure whipped cream, not as good as regular whipped cream that you would make yourself, but also it's an ultra processed food. Or another example would be artificially flavored and colored jellos. You think that, the gelatin actually comes in nuclear green or nuclear red. They look like a green light or a red light. No way. That's all artificial coloring. You want to stay away from that. You want to stay from packaged cookies, all that kind of stuff. Shortening, if you go to a bakery to go buy it, a lot of times they actually use shortening to be able to make the cookies. What I would say, I just kind of recommend trying some fruit. All right. And that's really kind of a good option. Oranges, mangoes, pineapple, and you cut them up small. If you want to give people some toothpicks to pick at, that's a great way to actually have a dessert. Next question. What's the best way to break a sugar craving and overcome that sweet addiction? Like I said, it's natural to like sugar, and our brains are wired for it. But our brains are also can also make us crave things to an unhealthy degree. So you want to actually break unhealthy sugar cravings. All right. So here's just a couple of tips that are things to try that might be helpful for you. Number one, if you want to chew some gum, all right, it's been shown that chewing gum actually distracts your brain and kind of veers your attention away from wanting to crave sweets. But if you're going to chew gum, make sure it's not sugar-free gum. I remember when sugar-free gum first came out, it became very, very popular, that healthy gum, right? Actually, it's not that healthy. And the reason is it's now been discovered that artificial sweeteners can damage your gut microbiome, the healthy bacteria in your gut. And you don't want to be damaging your gut microbiome. Your gut microbiome, your healthy gut bacteria, helps you lower inflammation, helps to boost your immune system, signals your brain to put you in a good mood, all kinds of, and helps your metabolism, helps control your blood lipids. So you don't want to be messing with your gut microbiome.